believe it or not, the Premier League have their own financial fair play rules separate from UEFA. And Manchester City were notified today they're being charged with violating financial fair play over a course of 9 seasons. And the case has been turned over to an independent commission, which is going to review the facts and assess the punishment. It could range from a points deduction to even relegation. Manchester City are claiming they're innocent. They think when this independent commission reviews the facts, they're going to be absolved. Remember, a couple years ago, UEFA tried to punish them for financial fair play violations. They appealed to our good friends at the Court of Arbitration for Sport and won the appeal. So they didn't get punished ultimately. It sounds like they can't appeal this to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So it's all going to rest on this independent commission. So massive news coming out of England.
And the potential penalty is not just a points reduction, but even possibly being kicked out of the EPL. This is hilarious. Okay, so a couple things. One, the financial play, fair play rules, whether it's the greater ones or the individual ones, are they're kind of guidelines. Let's be honest, in the way that they are judged and the way in which they are used. And let's also be honest. Has Man City, the modern version of Man City, has it not helped the EPL? Has it not been beneficial, not just to Man City as a brand, which obviously is night and day in terms of its global exposure and its relevance around the world, but also the way that it has helped the EPL become the most popular and the most expensive and the most profitable league in the world through their actions. And again, we talked about this last week on the pod. If people want to spend money, it's not my money. Go ahead, spend as much as you want. If you're not going to have a salary cap, then do whatever the hell you want and get the best possible team on the field. And I'm not saying that there's not a need for restrictions and regulations and laws that are governed, or that if and when you break them, you shouldn't suffer consequences. But are they going to bite off their nose to spite their face by doing something like this?
Yeah, with the Manchester Cities and PSGs, there is this whole separate issue of sports washing. But putting that aside, yeah, a lot of people feel like financial fair play is a move by the old aristocratic clubs to try to prevent new clubs from rising up. And so they actually don't like it. They think that if you get bought by a super rich owner tomorrow, you should reap the benefits from that. And it gives smaller clubs a chance to rise up overnight. And what's so wrong with that? We get more big spending clubs in the game like City and PSG. So there are some people that think like you, that think all this financial fair play stuff is actually nonsense.
But financial fair play restrictions and rules and regulations, even the individual leagues, they are propped up as to help with competitiveness or to help with parity. But that's not the case at all. You can't do that if you're allowed to if there's no salary cap and there's no roster limitations.
Yeah, it means you can only spend relative to your revenue, and you're still going to have super clubs that generate lots more revenue than others because they're bigger brands. So you're still going to have the Real Madrids and Manchester Uniteds being able to spend a lot more than most clubs. But the Real Madrids and Manchester Uniteds, they don't want clubs like PSG and Manchester City to be able to join them just by virtue of having a super rich owner. And so the issue is Manchester City are being accused of lying in their accounting books about how much money they're bringing in sponsorships. And when in fact, it's just the owners spending their own money. So that's the issue.
But this should have been sorted out. I vividly remember when these nation states started coming in, and the incredible oil money started to flow in. People said, "Oh, careful!" And PSG was the same way. Careful, because what they're going to do is they're going to use sponsorships as a way to circumvent these types of laws. So this was clearly stated and public that this was a possibility and a potential problem when it all started, and it wasn't nipped in the bud. They didn't fix it right now, and so that it is now coming back to roost. I'm not absolving Man City if they broke the rules. I'm just saying that this was foreseen and should have been dealt with in that moment. And so now that it has happened, the train has left the station. Because if I'm a mid-level EPL team and I'm making money, and I'm making more money because of what in totality the EPL has become, and in large part to teams like Man City and what they are doing and how attractive they are. Am I gonna, scream and yell that, oh, it's not fair and I can't compete, but I'm still gonna cash those checks and I'm still gonna take the windfall that comes in? Ultimately, is the EPL as interesting and as exciting and as valuable if they kick out Man City going forward? And yeah, you still have your legacy clubs and your history out there. And I know that if it wasn't Man City, it might be looked at a different way because of the nouveau riche type of framing of Man City. But I still think that the EPL doesn't benefit from Man City not being in it. And I know you want to send a message and all that kind of stuff, but this might be a bridge too far.
Now, there are fans of clubs that have finished second to Manchester City in the Premier League over this span who think City should be stripped of their titles and it should be awarded to those clubs. So I've seen Liverpool fans, Manchester United fans making noise on Twitter about that. The only thing I'm going to say about that is in 2013, Michigan lost a national championship game to Louisville in basketball. Louisville has since had to void that title because they violated NCAA rules, but that title did not go to Michigan. So it should just be voided.
Hey, look,
there's a precedent there, I'm sorry, that the Premier League needs to follow.
Again, if they are convicted in this case of cheating, which is ultimately what it is, then yeah, they should suffer the consequences. And if it's ill-gotten gains, there has to be, like in many instances, a clawback of the successes that you had and stripped. Because if they were gotten because you cheated and you violated the rules, as much as I think that they're ridiculous, then yeah, you have to, stop breaking the law.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.